JP poll, our internal power ratings. For those of you who are new around here, it's very simple. Here's a 5-second explainer. We have our own proprietary model, and all we care about in our own internal power rating system is who that model would favor over who. And it just stacks teams in that order. And it doesn't care about wins and losses, nothing else. It just stacks teams in the order of favorability on a neutral field. So this is not going to look like the AP poll, nor should it. And if I were an AP voter, I would not vote in this order. So with that in mind, a little more than 5 seconds. With that in mind, let's dive in. 25 through 21, we have several new arrivals. People have been screaming at me. Where's Purdue? There they are. They're number 25. Where's Wake Forest? There they are. Number 24. Texas A&M lost Saturday, and yet they jumped up because, well, that's what happens when you play one of the top teams in the country to the wire in their own building, even against their backup quarterback. So A&M's there hovering around 23. What does that mean? It means we would favor them against Wake Forest on a neutral field. Wish we could have seen it in the bowl game, especially those of you in the Carolinas wish you could have seen that. Minnesota's at 22. They were unrated last week, and I don't think they even played, so that just means shuffling happened elsewhere. NC State is at 21. Okay, top 20 time. Florida State is at 20. And they lost last week. And I don't have time to dive into this. I'm not necessarily agreeing with the model. If I were doing the JP rankings instead of power ratings, I may not have FSU that high, but the computer does. And it's been pretty good about FSU games. We are going to predict FSU Clemson later in the show. UCLA. Model's been a little slow to react on the Bruins. Got them 19 now. Baylor's at 18. Notre Dame sneaking around at 17. They've quietly been playing some good football. Kansas State at 16. A lot of that's kind of the same as you saw last week. We enter the top 15. Oregon playing really good football at number 15, and that's with that Georgia splattering baked in there. I mean, imagine if they just didn't open with Georgia and we didn't have that data set in the overall analog for Oregon. TCU 14, unchanged. Ole Miss 13, unchanged. Penn State dropped a few spots, not a big deal. They're at 12. That means fractions of a point. Oklahoma State's at 11, fractions of a point. The top 10, here we go. There is movement. There is movement, kids. Utah is still a top 10 team according to the model, and they've got 2 losses. They host USC. USC's number 8, by the way, so we get number 8 versus number 10 setting up for this Saturday. In between them is the most underrated team in America, and that continues to be Mississippi State. We've had them top 15 all year. Now we got them top 10, and Mississippi State sitting there at number 9. They go to Kentucky this weekend. They are favored by a touchdown at Kentucky, and that's that. Number 7 is Michigan. I don't like that, and I know what it looks like. It looks like they fell 3 spots. Really, I think the computer dropped them like half a point, and it's because they did not put away Indiana. I told you I thought the Mike Hart deal had a little something to do with that final score and the level they played at, and I know the computer doesn't know that, so I'll handle this privately with the computer later. Michigan's at 7. Tennessee is at 6. Check out the top 5. Can you imagine what's about to be said about this? Clemson is number 5. The University of Texas is now power rated as our number 4 team. What does that mean to have a 2-loss team top 4, kids? Well, the losses mean nothing. It just means the current Texas team, as we see them, we would like against anyone other than Georgia, Alabama, and Ohio State. And by like, I mean the computer would favor them on a neutral field. If Texas played Clemson tomorrow, I'd pick Clemson. The computer would not. And that's the difference between the computer and I. The computer's a little bit better than me too, so make of that what you will. Georgia's number 3, Bama's number 2, Ohio State for the first time this year is power rated number 1. What are the gaps? This is probably the most attractive part of this segment at this point. It's what you talk about the most. As of today, neutral field, the model would have Ohio State -1 against Alabama. Ohio State -3.5 against Georgia. Ohio State -12 against Texas. Ohio State -14.5 against Michigan and Tennessee. I got Clemson in there somewhere. I think Texas. Yeah, so Ohio State -13 against Clemson. So those are the current lines, hypothetically. The gap between number 5 and number 25 is now 12.5 points. So we've seen that gap. We've seen that margin grow a little bit. Remember, it was like 8 points a few weeks ago. But Ohio State, the new number 1. Texas at number 4. Now, look, you can scream and yell at me all you want to. That's fine. there are worse things you could do, like not watch the video. So I appreciate you watching. I want to tell you, I just want to encourage you, go look at some of the other rating systems out there. Go look at what Connolly has. Go look at the FEI. Go look at some of the more advanced analytical models. I think you'd be shocked to find Texas is right up there in those too. And I was not aware of that until about an hour ago because I went and checked them to see how far off we were. Turns out we're not far off at all. We just get Ted to make a fancy little graphic, so ours takes all the strays and, you know, theirs is relatively unscathed. Texas, man. Texas. Got some big games coming up. Guys, thanks for watching Late Kick. Make sure and leave a comment. I love interacting with you. But most of all, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. That's how we keep all of this free.